Hello, everyone. Welcome to our latest installment of the WorkflowMax Masterclasses. We're very excited for today's masterclass, and we're also very lucky to have the very lovely Amanda joining us from BDO. Thanks so much for joining us this morning, Amanda.
No worries, Ryan. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you on board, and we're very much looking forward to having you lead us through today's masterclass. Of course, we're going to be looking at leads, quotes, and phases. And yeah, just while we wait for everyone to get settled in the webinar, just wanted to highlight that this is part of a whole series. So we've got some great content for everyone to jump into. And we are supported by some of the WorkflowMax team in the background who will pop in a link just to help remind us all where to find them. That is the classes that you can attend. Thank you. And we're also, just as a bit of a housekeeping, we are going to record today's session. It will be available via the very same link for on-demand download, and it will also be uploaded to our YouTube channel as well. Now, also just by way of housekeeping, today's format will be very much led by Amanda, who is our expert implementation partner from BDO. We'll learn a little bit more about her and her background in a second. We are saving some time at the end for Q&A. But of course, if you have some questions as we go, feel welcome to use the Q&A function. And we have the lovely Linnell and David in background from WorkflowMax who will happily address those questions as we go. I think that's probably just about everyone who has landed in here, Amanda. So I think it's a great opportunity to get started. I mean, for those that I haven't met, it's a pleasure to meet you. I'm Ryan Kagan. I head up growth and partnerships at WorkflowMax. But today isn't about me. It's very much about Amanda. Amanda, thanks again. We'd love to learn a little bit about your experience as an implementation partner. And yeah, it'd be great to just get a bit of a background there before we jump in.
Cool. Yeah. So, hi, everyone that I can't see. I'm Amanda. I am part of the BDO Information Systems team here at BDO Auckland. So, we are an audit, tax, and advisory firm, but we also have an information systems team that I'm part of. Is sorry, excuse me, 16 of us, and we specialize in accounting system implementations for clients. So I actually started at BDO 7 years ago. Actually, it's a bit hard to
Wow.
believe. I was in the advisory team, so I was an actual accountant for a while, and then I've been part of the information systems team for 3 years. Um, Most of my specialty is in with zero and zero add-ons, WorkflowMax being one of them. So I actually did use the old world of WorkflowMax quite extensively. And then once the new world came about, I was quite heavily involved in helping our clients move off from old to new. So I have quite a bit of experience in migration, but also in using the new software a lot. And a lot of our clients, I have quite a range of clients on the system from quite a wealth of industries as well. So we have some architects, some quantity surveyors, some people who are in media and construction as well. So I do have quite a lot of experience using this software for quite a variety of things.
Amazing. That's great, Amanda. Thanks for giving us a little bit of a brief background there. And you've been such a valuable implementation partner for years now, 7 years. I didn't realize it was that long. So
I know I don't look it, do I?
super appreciated. And great for everyone listening in to understand that you've got that breadth of different industry specializations. And for what it's worth, I know from our side, keeping an eye on BDO activities, you've worked with some of the more complex, and I'm sure we've got a great deal of value to inject in today's discussion. So thanks for the quick introduction. I think it's now a great opportunity to jump in. So again, we're chatting about leads, quotes, phases. We will touch on quite a number of different features and functionality of the platform. And just for everyone listening in, in some respects, we're trying to, cater to the everyone. So we might not have the opportunity to go deep in any one particular function, but do sing out via the Q&A or, of course, shamelessly, at the end, Amanda will share her contact details so that you can connect with her. to go into a deeper dive or to learn more about how you can get extra support from her and the team. But Amanda, without say, we've got to jump right in and let's learn all about it.
Thanks, Ryan. So I've set up a new WorkflowMax company for our new team that we're actually opening in a town that you may or may not be familiar with, Springfield. No one knows exactly where it is, but everyone's heard about it. And I thought I'd just start a little bit talking about why I really quite like the lead manager module. So it's a really great way for you to manage your sales pipeline all the way from a lead to a job. I do know I have had clients before where they manage their leads maybe in an Excel spreadsheet, or they've just written them down on paper, or maybe they're in an Outlook calendar somewhere, and maybe you have noted down when leads come in, but you're not really actively keeping on top of what you've done for those leads or how much you've contacted them or tracking them through to a one job. So this is a really great place to keep all of that information in one place and make sure you're holding yourself and your team accountable for that work. It's also a really cheap sort of add-on onto the WorkflowMax product. So $15 a month, correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan. So
Right.
about the price of 2 cups of coffee. So really low value investment for quite a high rate of return. So what I thought I'd do today is take you through maybe a day in the life from a lead coming in to my new BDO company all the way to a one job. So a little bit about the dashboard at first. This just gives you a really great overview of what you've currently got sitting in your sales pipeline. So I have 2 staff currently that are taking care of leads, myself and Carl. You can tell I'm the best at this. And you'll see across the top that I have my leads categorized. You'll see quoted, qualified, consultation, and then some uncategorized. I like to use, the way I like to use lead categories is to sort of group leads based on different statuses of the lead. So where I'm currently at in my sales pipeline. So you can see I keep track of how many I've qualified. So that's how many I've spoken to, how many I've had an initial consultation with, and how many that I've quoted as well. Ultimately, I want to get as many as I can into the quoted stage. Now, you can change these lead categories ultimately to suit your business and how you work. So you might decide that you want to categorize your jobs based on the likelihood of it becoming a job. So you might have you might do it hot, medium, and cold, for example, based on how likely of success you think. Or if you have any other ways of categorizing your jobs, that might be another way of just keeping track of where things are at.
That's probably one key, sorry to interject there, it's probably one key theme that I know we're going to visit a few times today. The fact that there are just so many options and ways of flexing and personalizing the product to the very needs of your business. And this is just one shining example. Lots of different ways to achieve the results that you're looking for in your business.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. So WorkflowMax is really quite a flexible system. You can definitely manage the settings however you like to make it work the best for your business needs. I was able to set up these leads by going to the cogs button here. So this is where you can access all your organization settings. And I was able to add as many categories as I wanted just from that particular menu. And I was able to give them pretty colors and all that. All of those categories are also broken down at the tops in these little boxes up here. So I can see how many active leads I have. So how many leads I'm actively chasing. My active leads, so just the ones that I am responsible for, which you can see is most of them because I'm not competitive at all. And then broken down by the same categories that I set up as well. And then down the bottom, I also have a cool little calendar that will show me all the leads by month. So not much happening in the beginning of the year because we didn't exist yet. And then suddenly in March, I've obviously started working quite hard. Broken down into my total leads, leads 1, which is green. And then I haven't lost any yet, which is great. Hopefully I didn't start. But if I had lost any, they would be in red. So if I head into these tabs at the top, this will take me into where I can see all the leads that I currently have in my system. So you can see they're broken down sort of similar to the boxes at the top. From the dashboard screen, I have active, all, my leads, and then another cool thing here, activities. So activities are, and I'll talk about this in a bit more detail when I create a new lead, but activities are a really cool feature where I can add tasks to my leads to make sure that I am doing things like following them up, scheduling meetings, sending my quotes. So you can see I have quite a few tasks that I need to get done. So I have some phone calls to schedule, I have some demos to schedule, and I have to make a proposal as well. I can give all these activities dates, and then WorkflowMax will show them to me on this calendar so I can see what I have due and when. I can also see who I've assigned those tasks to as well. So you can see most of it is stuff that I have to do, but also my colleague Carl has some things that he needs to do as well. Great. So
That's one of those avenues, Amanda. Sorry to cut in again.
No, that's okay.
Often we find that customers using the lead module, like you said before, are coming from Excel or even paperwork or just whatever in their head. So that's a really key bit of functionality that goes beyond just the Excel spreadsheet and helps to keep more accountability with the path to conversion. And it's that's a big part of just making sure we get the job done, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. You can't improve what you can't measure. So if I didn't know any of this was happening, I wouldn't be able to hold anyone accountable or make sure that I was doing what I needed to do to get these leads to actual jobs.
That's right.
So I'm going to take you all through how to add a lead. So you might want to also think about how your leads are coming into the system as well. Right now, I'm obviously just entering them, but I might have leads coming in from client referrals or from a website maybe, or maybe even things like HubSpot, which do integrate directly into WorkflowMax. So you might have your lead come into HubSpot, and then through the native integration, it will, correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan, but I think it will create the lead in the system for you.
Yeah, or not to get too bogged down with detail, but could even be fast tracked as a replacement for leads, just being open with the availability and options for our customers.
But for now, I'm just going to create one, which I can do from create new lead. What this will do is it will give me some information that I need to fill about details relating to this lead. So where it came from, the name of it, what I think the estimated value is going to be. First thing I have to do is enter a client. This could be a lead for an existing client. So maybe a client of mine wants some additional work for something else. I can pick them from the list. Some of these names may be familiar to you. Or if it's a completely new client, someone I haven't worked with before, I can actually add their details directly from the screen just by clicking add. So I'm going to add a new client today. Who should I say?
Are we keeping in theme here?
Yes, I was just trying to think of a character, but my mind suddenly went blank. And I can assign staff, so I can assign a client manager and a job manager. So Ryan, I'm going to assign you.
Excellent.
Raylan.
Done.
I can add any contact details, their billing address, all from the screen, or I can come back and do that later once I have a bit more free time. Cool. So I have to give this lead a name. So let's say he's looking for a zero implementation, which is great because I like to do those. I can also give what I think is an estimated value for this lead. So if it did turn into a job, maybe how much I think this job is going to be worth. So let's just say it's a couple $1,000s. A really cool feature is templates. So you can see I have a couple types. Templates are really good for automating like repeatable activities. So maybe I get a lot of leads from like a website or a client. Depending on what that kind of lead is, it will fill out some of these details for me. So for BDO Springfield, we get our leads two ways, mostly from our website, but also from client referrals as well. For this instance, let's say this came through the website. I can add in a lead date, and then I can also add any extra details to this lead as well. So maybe I've already had a phone call with him. I can also change the category of this. So maybe if some work has already been done on this lead before I put it into the system, I could change the category depending on how much work has been done, or if I categorized my jobs based on hot, lukewarm, cold, so how likely I thought it was going to be, I could change the category here as well. So for now, I've just qualified this lead. I haven't done a consultation or a quote or anything like that, but I can always update this at any time. I can change the owner of this lead as well. So I'll give this one to you, Ryan.
Wonderful.
Got to start pulling your weight around here.
I know. Absolutely.
And I can also put basically how long I think I'm going to need to reel this lead in. So maybe I like to give myself about 4 weeks. Another thing I'd just like to touch on is custom fields. So as I was saying before, WorkflowMax is quite a highly customizable system. You can make changes or add settings however you like so that it works the best for your business. You can see that I have 2 custom fields set up already, one for coffee order and one for sales calls. So those are 2 things that I want to make sure I'm tracking. You can also, if you've used the reports function of WorkflowMax, all of these custom fields can be reported on as well. So if you need any further analysis or you need to see this data in any of your reports, you totally can. You'll also...
Sorry, Amanda, I was going to just cut you out of what you're about to say. Go for it on the...
You'll notice that these custom fields have 2 asterisks. I can't pronounce the word, but you know what I'm talking about.
I don't know what the plural is. It's only an asterisk, yeah.
Thank you, Ryan. This means they're mandatory fields, so this means I'm required to fill them in. So that means when I create custom fields, if it's a field that I want staff to be filling in all the time, I can actually make them mandatory. So it means if I try to save this, I'll actually get forced to put something in here. So let's say his coffee order. So he likes mochas, because that's what I like. And I've already had 1 sales call with him so far. So what this has done now is created a lead for me in the system, so I can keep track of anything I need to keep track of relating to this lead all in one place. Just talking a little bit more, so you'll see I've got a couple more tabs that have shown up on this particular screen: quotes, notes, activities, and documents. So I'll touch on quotes last, just because that will flow quite nicely into the next part of this session. So I'm just going to focus on the other 3 tabs. The first one is notes. So if I need to keep track of any information for this client, I can actually add notes to this lead, just things that I want to remember or information that is quite important that I want to make sure is in one place. I can actually add here. So I can say and let's say he's currently managing everything on spreadsheets right now. This way, when I do a demo for him, I can keep in mind that that's what he's using, and so I can blow his mind with what Xero can do and how he won't have to use spreadsheets hopefully ever again. You can see who created it. Other people who are managing leads can leave comments on it. So it's just a nice place to keep all your information together. The next thing I want to touch on is activities. So we talked about this a little bit before, but these are tasks that are related to your leads to keep track of what you're doing to make sure that it comes to you as a one job or a one lead. I have 3 tasks already against this lead. So you'll remember earlier when I was creating this lead, I was able to pick templates if it was a website lead or a client referral. When I set up those particular lead templates, again, using the little cog button up here to get to my business settings, I was able to add different tasks to those lead templates so that whenever I created a lead for that particular referral type, it already had some tasks that I had to do. So maybe these are tasks that I do for every single website lead that comes across. Instead of having to add them individually each time I create a website lead, WorkflowMax will already create them for me.
Yeah. And I think it's worth highlighting there, Amanda, that with respect to the template as part of the lead setup, it wasn't mandatory, but given personal preference and how businesses like to operate, there's a great opportunity to tap into a lot more automation and efficiency in how you manage that with repeatable tasks. And this is a great example of that as well.
Thanks, Ryan. I can add any more activities from here as well. So if there are particular ad hoc ones for this particular client, I can add them directly from the screen. I can even filter down the screen. So maybe there's something I want you to do, Ryan. I want you to take them out for coffee.
I can do that.
And I need you to do that by tomorrow.
Perfect. Good thing I live in Melbourne.
You better get over here quickly then. As you can see, because I've set dates up for all these tasks on this calendar next to it, it will show me for this particular lead this time, since I'm in this lead, what is due for this lead and when. When something has been done, I can even mark it as complete. So for example, I've already had my initial phone call with Waylon. I can mark it as complete. And you can see it's disappeared from the calendar. So again, another great way to help make sure you're keeping yourself and also your staff accountable for things that need to get done.
Yeah.
The second to last tab I'm going to talk about is documents. So if there are any documents that need to be loaded against this lead, maybe some contracts or photos or specifications, requirements documents, they can all be uploaded here. This just keeps them again in one place. And then another cool thing is once this lead gets turned into a job, or once you start emailing quotes or invoices from WorkflowMax, you can actually attach any documents you've loaded here to those emails that are sent from the system. While we're on the topic of adding documents to a lead, you'll notice that on the main lead screen, on the detail screen, there is this Collaboration Manager email. So Collaboration Manager, it just allows you to, if you send an email to this particular email address, anything you've attached to that email will actually be automatically attached to this lead as well. So if you want to forward stuff directly from your Outlook inbox, you definitely can. And then all those documents will actually be sitting here under this lead. Again, once it turns into a job, all those same documents will be sitting against the job as well. So just another cool feature that I actually really like. What you can do is I like to copy this email and just save it as a contact so I don't have to keep finding it all the time. And that just really helps me out. Just making sure I've covered everything I want to cover. Yeah. So then the last tab, which I did skip over, but which I'm now coming back to, is the quotes tab. So once you're ready to start creating quotes from this lead, all quotes will be saved in the screen as well, so that you can go back and look at them at any time. Even if you revise or edit a quote, or even if it's declined, they'll all be sitting here for you.
It might be worth, if I can jump in, Amanda, in terms of workflow, we've already touched on the theme of making WorkflowMax personalized to your needs. So it might surprise some to hear that you don't have to add a quote necessarily. You can just use the lead for its lead generation activities and then later do a quote. Funnily enough, some businesses go directly from lead to job and then do a quote. There's all sorts of weird, wonderful ways of personalizing the workflows to your needs. But of course, this is I'd like to think a more structured approach, because it's going to really help us to think through what the mechanics of that job costed function are for approval before we get into the work. So I actually identify with this approach more so, Amanda. Yeah, so it's a good opportunity to jump in and see how it all flows through.
Yeah, awesome, thanks. So yeah, as Ryan was saying, the order in which you do these things is of course depending on how you do your business. So the way that we work is that we might get a lead, and then we'd either do a proposal or a quote, and then only once that's accepted does that get turned into a job. Of course, you might already, depending on the way you work, you might do things in another order. The way Ryan said, you might already have an open job and then you'll do a quote. And you can do it any way you like, which is actually which is really quite good, which means you can really make WorkflowMax suit your own established business processes. I'll just take you through an example of how we'll do it, but of course, I will sort of stop and talk about how you might do it in other scenarios as well. So for my particular needs, I need to do a quote first, and then only once I do a quote can I, and once the quote is accepted, will this lead become a one lead. So I'm going to, after I've spoken to Waylon, we've had coffee, he's really keen for 0, and so now he wants a quote so he can see how much it may cost him. So to do a quote for Waylon, I can come up here to options, and you'll see I have a couple of different options here. So I can create a new quote directly from this lead. If maybe I had done things a little bit out of order and I forgot to create a lead, but I did already have a quote in the system for him, I can actually attach an existing quote from the system to this lead, just to make sure that everything is linked together. So I'm going to create a new quote. So those of you who create quotes before probably does look a little bit familiar to you. I have some of this information has already come from my lead that I've created, so I don't have to fill it in again. So you'll see the client, the quote name, the budget, that already came from everything I'd already filled out before. All of this can be updated if I need to, if any new information has come to light. So again, I can assign this quote to a salesperson, and since Ryan was the one managing the lead, I will assign him as the salesperson. I can then add some valid dates here. So maybe this pricing is only valid between a certain amount of dates. I can add that here. Obviously, this is not mandatory. You can change these or remove these dates if this pricing is always valid, again, depending on what suits your business and the way that you work. I can add some more explanations here as well, some more detail. And then I can come down and actually start quoting.
Amanda, sorry to backtrack just a little bit.
Right.
Just want to quickly make mention of the pricing mode.
Yes.
So just want to highlight for everyone listening in that this is one of those areas that we're going to go into a lot deeper discussion with in another masterclass. So please refer back to that link in the chat for attending that one. But just very quickly, Amanda, can you help us understand the difference between calculated price or why you might have chosen calculated price on this example?
Yeah, so there's 2 types of pricing methods, calculated and fixed price. So the way that BDO Springfield works is that all of our staff, we have billable rates, and then the cost of the job is calculated by the number of hours we estimate and then our personal billable rates. So that's calculated price. Fixed price is basically what it sounds like. There's one price for this job or these particular tasks that make up my job, and I just charge the same price every time. So again, it really, you can price and build these quotes how it would work best for your business. So for consultants like us, calculated pricing is usually the way we would go. In other industries, if you have a job that you do the same every single time and it's always the same price, then fixed price would be probably what you would more lean towards. Again, you can choose whichever method you want depending on how you work.
Excellent. Thanks, Amanda.
Thanks, Ryan. So the way that I build up my quote is obviously adding all the things that I need to do for this particular job. And there's a couple of ways that I can do this. I can start adding in tasks to the quote and building up the job however I like. I can also use templates again. So if there are jobs that have the same tasks that are always done, I can set up job templates in my organization settings, again, just from the settings button. And what this will actually do is fill in the quote with those same jobs and costs. Fill in the quote with all those same tasks and costs so that I don't have to build them up every single time if they are the same every time. What I think I'll do in this case is I'm just going to add some tasks here. And then after that, I'll show you how it would look if I added a template. So if we're doing a zero implementation for Mr. Smithers, then there's a couple of things that I need to do to get zero ready for him. And I can add those tasks to my quote by clicking Add Task. I've already set up a bunch of tasks in my business settings, so I can go ahead and pick from those. So I need to do some things like I need to set up the system settings, and I think that's going to take me maybe 5 hours. I can add a label so that it shows up on the quote maybe with a different name or something like that, just for quoting purposes. I can add a description here as well. So if I need any extra information about this task to show up on the quote, this is where I can add it. I can also assign this to a phase. So phases are a great way of breaking down your job into, I call them like different buckets of time and costs. So the way that, for example, we work is that each of our jobs has different stages that we go through. So it might be one stage that's meeting and planning, another stage that's data gathering, another stage that's system setup and configuration. And then I might actually decide I want to invoice and quote based on each of those stages. So every time I do a stage of the job, I'll invoice whatever falls into that bucket of my job. So it's a great way to organize and structure your job. I'm not going to do that for this particular one. I'm just going to throw a couple of things in there. I can choose if this task is billable to the customer or not billable. And then, forgive me, Ryan, I've forgotten what optional means.
Yeah, well, why don't you switch it on and we can actually show everyone what it looks like in the actual table. But it's effectively the ability for the customer to choose from the red widget versus the blue widget, or something of an optional nature, as the name does this, as it depicts. Actually, for those that have been using WorkflowMax for some time, it's actually a new feature that we've added for tasks, but you'd probably recognize it as always being there as part of the costs. So let's add it in and we can see how it all translates.
Awesome, thanks, Ryan. Also from this screen, I can decide at this point who I want to be performing these specific tasks. So let's say I'll do this one, Ryan, since I'm making you work really hard lately.
You are the zero expert. That's you.
So I can assign myself to this task. That's my billable rate. I can also put in how much time I think this is going to take me. So if I was doing the whole thing, I could give myself the whole 5 hours. If this task was going to be split between me and Ryan, I could allocate that myself only gets 2.5, and then maybe Ryan gets the other 2.5 as well.
2.5 hours of coffee entertainment.
Yes, at a higher rate too. I need to rethink my business model clearly.
Very good.
So I can keep going through and building up my quote with all the tasks that I need. If I also wanted to save some time, I can add multiple tasks at once. So if I click add multiple tasks, I can actually go through and just tick through a list of tasks and add them in all at once. So let's say I need to do...
I think it's important just while you're doing that, Amanda, just reminding everyone, as you mentioned before, these are all tasks that you have pre-developed as part of the business settings under tasks. And in a similar vein, you can also do the same as part of the costs, the cost admin as well, which we'll get to no doubt in a second.
Yes, correct. So let's say I need to add all of those. So let's say those are all the actual tasks that need to get done on my job. So costs are piling up pretty quickly, but I don't think I was too far off my value estimate when I was adding in the leads. So that's actually quite nice.
I think, Amanda, if you don't mind, I think some people listening in might be wondering why system settings doesn't have a visible base rate and billable rate, whereas the other task items do. Are you happy to address that? Or I can.
Sure. Actually, no, I can't remember why.
Okay. So it's effectively given the fact that system settings has now had an allocation of two individuals to
Mhm.
deliver on the same task, but
Yep.
they have mixed rates. So it's not one conclusive base rate, not one conclusive or similar billable rate. And
Mhm.
that's why they get superseded with that time to the mixed base rates equals the cost, and same with the billable. Whereas import data, queries, and support, etc. That is more at a generic level according to the task property. But as we assign staff later, that of course will be overridden in this particular example. Uh, so there was just a little bit of extra detail there, but fortunately, WorkflowMax takes care of all the calcs. And even if we want to do a sneak peek, Amanda can scroll down and we'll see all of those costed elements coming together as part of the quote summary.
Awesome. Thank you, Ryan.
Welcome.
Um, so the next thing I want to talk about is costs. So there might be some costs associated with doing this job for Wayland. So I'm getting Ryan to take him out for all these coffees. So that will be a cost. Maybe I need to take some Ubers, or there's some cost for travel out to go and see Wayland to help him out. And I want to account for those in this quote. I can actually include that in my quote as well. So in the same way that I added tasks, I can add costs. I can add one, or I can add multiple. So I've already got one set up for travel, not for coffee, Ryan. Looks like you're on the hook for that.
That's okay.
In the business, so like the tasks, I've also set up my costs in the business settings. So you can see it came pre-populated with unit cost and unit price. I can obviously update these at this point if I need to change these for whatever reason. I can also get WorkflowMax to calculate a markup for me automatically. So maybe I'm always going to charge a 30% markup on my travel costs. I can just click calculate, and you can see that that number is automatically updated for me. So makes things a lot easier, especially for someone like me who sometimes her quick maths isn't always that great. I can change the quantity. Again, excuse me, assign this to those phases that I talked about earlier if I need to. So those buckets of costs. So maybe if I assign this to the implementation phase, once I'm done with implementing the system, this cost would also get invoiced to Wayland at the same time. I'm realizing now it was a mistake to do Wayland Smithers, because now I'm getting confused between Ryan and Wayland. For some reason in my head, they sound the same.
Very, very close.
Yeah. I can also decide if this cost is a stock or a service type. I won't go into too much detail about this at the moment. But
That's
sorry, Ryan.
probably, oh, sorry, man. I was going to highlight this is probably one of those elements that will be in more
Yes.
detail addressed in a later webinar series.
Yeah.
Sorry, in a later masterclass, beg your pardon. And this also has some implication with the purchases function as well. But we'll save that for another time. At the
Yeah.
moment, this is a quote. This is what we're foreseeing as part of the absorbed or passed on cost.
Yes. Thanks, Ryan.
Good.
Again, I can decide if this cost is billable or not billable. So maybe it is something that we incur, but we decided that we're actually not going to charge the client for this. We can actually turn it off so that it's not billable. And then I can add any additional information about this cost in this box here. So as you can see, my job is slowly being built up as I add tasks and costs to this quote. And then down the bottom in the quote summary, WorkflowMax is busily adding up all those figures to give me the total for this quote, so the total revenue, and also my gross profit percent as well.
And it might be worthwhile, Amanda, just flicking the switch there or the toggle on including all optional items. So that's one of those components that we added previously. And with that option, of course, we can see our gross profit margin steps up just that, well, little bit and puts us a bit into the gross profit percentage positive. But of course, that's a big part of the quote build-up function. We want to make sure that the numbers stack up and are in a healthy position before, of course, we issue when ready. But you did mention, Amanda, you'd share with everyone how to leverage a template as
Yeah.
part of this as well. So let's take a look at that one.
Yeah, awesome. So the way that you build your quote is going to actually be the way that your job is structured. So once you win this job, or in the way that I'm doing things today, if this client accepts the quote and I've won the job, how I've structured the quote is actually how the job is going to be structured as well. So all of this information will come through onto my new job. If I have job templates set up, I can actually use this for my quoting stage. So if I come up to options, you'll see I have the ability to apply additional templates. So if I click on that, so in my business settings, I've set up 2 job templates, one for a system implementation and one for ongoing support. So these are the 2 types of jobs that I do the most often. Obviously, depending on your industry that you work in or the place that you work at, you might have different types of jobs. So an architect might have a house that they're building, or an advertising company might have like a video ad versus an internet YouTube 30-second TikTok ad or something. So you can definitely set these up depending on what you need. So because I'm doing a 0 implementation for Wayland, I'm going to use my system implementation template. And then I have 2 options underneath, the one that says add additional tasks and append existing tasks on the quote. So if I tick this, obviously all of the tasks that I've set up in this template will be added. And then append, I believe that means, Ryan, that all of the existing tasks that I have on the quote already, they'll stay there.
Or updated accordingly.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
So once I apply this template, you'll see that now my quote looks quite a bit more filled out.
A lot more going on now.
Yeah, so that's because I've taken the time to set up this template. All the tasks that I need to complete for this particular job, I've set up. I also put in some default hours as well, so it's calculating the time and the base rate. Grouped it into phases as well, so that everything's nice and tidy. But then you can see all the things that I added to this quote before I applied the template. They're there as well, so that I can organize them also. So if I have very standard jobs, or if I want a place to start so that I'm not structuring a job from scratch, job templates are a really great way to do that, to make this faster and more efficient as well. It's also severely pumped up the cost of my job as well. So Wayland's in for a nice surprise.
Absolutely. And of course, just wanted to highlight for everyone, you had a number of tasks and cost items there, Amanda, that are unassigned. Of course,
Yes.
we can go into the phases tab at a later stage and actually drag them across into their respective phases, or as you've got there, you've got the ability
I can actually even do it now.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect.
Great. So now what I can do is I can save it as a draft if I need to come away and come back to it later, or I can now issue this quote to Wayland. So again, depending on the way that you work, you might do this in a different order. You may have already issued this quote, or you may want to create a job first and then issue the quote. WorkflowMax can handle any way that you want to do this. In my particular example, the way that I work is that I now need to send a quote to him so he can say that he's okay with me to do this work for this price. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to issue the quote. This just means, this is just telling the system that it's ready to be sent out to the client. Cool thing about WorkflowMax is that while I can print a PDF copy of this invoice and email it manually, or print it out and give it to him physically if he were here, I can also email Wayland directly from the system as well. So I can do that by clicking on email. You'll see that it comes up with a little drop-down menu. That's because I've set up some custom BDO Springfield branded documents in my system. So WorkflowMax does come with its own standardized templates for you, ready to use right away. Or if you do want to put in the extra time to put in some branding, add some extra information to your templates, you definitely can. That is going to be a topic of another masterclass, I think, later this week, Ryan.
Sorry to correct you, but it was actually earlier
Oh,
this.
it was already.
Yeah, that was totally fine. But that too is available via the masterclass landing page or YouTube. Perfect.
So I am going to send out the one that I customized, but of course, if you only have the default template, that's completely fine. So once I fill this in, I'll show you what my template looks like, but I can obviously, I haven't given Waylon an email address yet, so that's why this is not pre-populated. If I had at the time of creating added an email address for him, that would be filled in. I'll just add something in now. Maybe he uses Gmail.
And just recounting the point of the custom print templates, we've just dropped a link into the chat, so you can refer back to that one in your own time.
I can add in a subject, or I can also, in the organization system settings, I can set up pre-written templates to send out quotes, invoices, anything like that from WorkflowMax. So if I had standard wording that I liked to use, I can set that up as a template so that when I send out a quote, it does say, "Hi, Waylon, please find your quote from BDO Springfield for this much. Please let us know if you have any questions," so that I don't have to write it out every single time I send a quote. You'll also see that I can add attachments. So like I mentioned earlier, if I had attached any documents to my lead, either just by uploading them or by using the collaboration manager, they would be available for me to email to Waylon here as well.
Yeah. So that could be branded assets, or could be terms and conditions of engagement, stuff like that. It's a very valuable use of just making the whole experience nice and seamless, isn't it?
Yep, definitely. I'm not going to send that because I don't think that's going to go anywhere. So I'm just going to hit the X. But if I was sending it, I just hit send email and that would be sent automatically for me. Whenever I print or email a document, WorkflowMax will show me a preview of said document. So this is my branded document template. I've just added my little BDO logo and I've, excuse me, added a couple more details to the quote template. So you can really make this however you need. I have some clients that instead of attaching their terms and conditions separately, they just include them in their quotes. So a lot of freedom to do whatever you like here. And from the screen as well, you can also export to PDF or Word if you need to.
If you don't mind, Amanda, I'd love to do a shameless little plug.
Yeah.
We have recently introduced a strategic partner in AirWallex. So for those that even want to include a Pay Now button, a dynamic Pay Now button into their quotes, whether it's for an upfront deposit or part payment, that can be incorporated as part of the quote template. And that will allow you to get that upfront payment or payment upon acceptance, and help move the job forward in a nice, quick manner.
Thanks, Ryan. Okay, so let's say that I've sent the quote now. So I'm going to go back to my quotes. I like to use, sometimes there's little hyperlinks up the top of the screen that tells me where I am. And if I click on any one of them, it just takes me back to a previous screen. It just saves me a click from having to go back to business and then quotes and then finding the quote again. So I just like to find quicker ways to navigate around. Now that I've issued the quote, you'll notice that I have a couple more options here down the bottom. So obviously I can mark it as declined or as accepted, depending on what Waylon comes back to me with. If I'm too expensive, he might decline the quote. Obviously, we hope that doesn't happen. Or I can revise the quote as well. So what revise does is basically it just allows me to make changes to the quote after I've issued it. So you might have this where they might say that they want to remove certain tasks from the job, or actually we might only do half of these things and not all of them. So you can issue a revised quote just by clicking revise. So what this is going to do is it will mark this quote as a revised quote and create you a new one. And basically, the newest version of your quote, so this new revised quote, is what will be used for the job if this new version gets accepted. Obviously, if you have to revise it again, you can go ahead and revise it as many times as you want. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you can.
Yep. And it's worth also highlighting that in terms of the number or quote number, you can actually personalize how it is recognized for revised quotes in the business settings as well. That's via the cog up the top right-hand side.
Yep, correct. So I have mine set up so that when I revise a quote, it has a /1 at the end so that I know that there was a revision. So let's say I actually want to remove some of these. So I can actually delete whole tasks, or I can even change up some of these as well. So maybe I'm not assigning you to this task anymore, Ryan. Sorry.
You.
And I can go ahead and issue it again. Again, all of these quotes, so both quotes will show up against the lead in the quotes tab. You will be able to see all the history of any quotes and any revisions that you've made. So now, cool thing, if Waylon does accept this quote and he is quite eager for me to do his 0 implementation, I can mark this as accepted. A cool thing that this does is, because I've selected one of these tasks as optional, right? I have to choose if he's going to, obviously, if he wants to do this or not. So I'm going to say he is.
Yep.
Exit options. You can see that WorkflowMax has actually, at the same time, created a job for me from this quote. So now that I accepted the quote, that lead has actually already been marked as 1 as well at the same time as accepting the quote, and it's also created a job for me with the same structure that I used for the quote. So ideally, this is the place that you want to get to after you've managed your sales pipeline, you've sent quotes, you've kept your staff accountable, you now have a perfectly set up job ready for you and your staff to start working.
Yeah. And Amanda, with the quote, you did go through the example of adding some staff to some tasks. Can we do a little shameless plug for the new bulk features, the bulk selected?
Yeah, of course.
Beautiful.
So if you want to assign staff to multiple jobs at once, you can actually do so instead of having to go into each job and assign staff individually. From the job screen, you can select all the jobs you want to assign staff to, and you'll see that I have this button here that says Add Staff. I can select whichever staff I want to assign. So in this case, let's say Ryan. And I can choose all the tasks available from those jobs to assign them to. So I'm going to go ahead and actually assign you to most things.
Excellent. Going to get my
We have a lot of work to do. And save. And now Ryan has been assigned to all those tasks in all those jobs in one click.
Excellent.
I think that was everything I wanted to cover. Again, the way that I did these particular quotes may not be and manage these leads may not be the way that you would do it, depending on your industry. You may just keep leads just for tracking and manage your jobs and quotes separately. You could use it all together the way I've just done, so using your quotes to structure your jobs. The cool thing is that you really can change WorkflowMax to suit your processes, which is what makes it so cool to use.
Yeah, thanks, Amanda. Thanks for walking us through that. While you still have control of the screen, can I please just get you to click on the little question mark button bottom right for the resource center? So just for everyone listening in, there's a wealth of information that we've put together via the resource center, whether it's troubleshooting guides or more proactively jumping into the academy to learn what's available to you. All of these assets are there for you to leverage and become, just understand and identify what the best way is to leverage the technology for your business needs. Amanda, I might just also do a little quick plug for you. Of course, if this if you do want to get that extra bit of advice and extra experience and quick path to ROI, I've obviously got a lot of bias in saying that. That's where you can obviously get in contact with Amanda and team to learn more, get extra help and support, and even explore all the opportunities to get so much more out of the product than what you might possibly be getting today. And Amanda, if people do want to get in contact, what's the best way to
Yeah,
contact with
definitely.
you?
So yeah, as I was saying before, we do a lot of work with Ryan and with WorkflowMax. So if you do want any assistance on anything I've covered today or how to best use WorkflowMax for your particular organization, you can get in touch with us. My email is here up on the screen. So if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. I or anyone from my team is more than happy to help.
Yeah. And I think it goes without saying, you're also very, virtual servicing friendly as well. So in terms of helping out customers from Australia, New Zealand,
Yes.
I think even the US, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, no matter where you are, feel free to get in contact, and I'm sure Amanda and team will be very happy to support and help you to yield your maximum potential in WorkflowMax. Now we do have a couple quick minutes remaining. So Amanda, I hope you don't mind if we stick around just for any last Q&A. I do
Sure.
know that our team has been very much keeping on top of the questions asked to date. Allow me just to, for everyone listening in, just summarize one of the key themes that did pop up was just asking about leads and extra feature enhancements. For what it is worth, the leads, look, we've got to call it what it is. It's quite simple by nature, but also equally very intuitive with how to manage and keep good accountability in that sales and lead process. But we do have a product team that's willing to take that further and look into things like calendar integration and more automation around notifications. So there's a lot more improvements to come. So we're pretty excited for that. Another question that popped up a couple of times was, why isn't leads visible to me in my platform? So as Amanda did quickly touch on in the beginning, it is an added module that you need to subscribe to. Now you can have that as part of your standard or premium subscription, doesn't matter which one, but it is an added module that you can sign up to via business settings subscription. Billing, and that way your account holder can opt in for that extra module when ready. We'll hold fire for any other questions, any last-minute questions that want to come through. So just give it a moment, Amanda. Thank you for doing that, and for
No
everyone
worries.
listening in, Amanda's done an incredible job. So I know she's had a cold and was a bit nervous of getting through with the voice. So thank you,
Thank
Amanda.
you. Hope you
Nice
couldn't tell too
resilience there, and good on you for bashing through it. Um, I'm not seeing any more questions coming through. We'll give it 30 more seconds just in case. Otherwise, we might wrap it up for today. Now, of course, this was recorded. It will be available via the landing page, Masterclass landing page, and we'll also put it into our YouTube channel. So feel free to subscribe, keep up to date with the latest and greatest, or of course, refer to our resource center via the question mark button in product, reach out to our support team, and of course, Amanda and team for that extra experience and support in the implementation services. But otherwise, yeah, really appreciate the time. I think that's the end of the questions. Thank you, Amanda. Been a pleasure, and thanks everyone for joining in on the discussion. We look forward to also inviting you to other masterclasses. So feel free to sign up. There's plenty of really interesting topics to jump into, but this has just been part in our leads, quotes, and phases. Thanks again, Amanda.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me, Ryan, and thank you for everyone for coming. I hope you learned something new, something to help you manage your sales pipeline. Again, if you have any questions on anything we covered today or anything else WorkflowMax related, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm more than happy to help.
Beautiful. All right, we'll leave it there. Thanks so much.
Thank you
Enjoy the
so
rest
much.
of the day. Take
Thanks,
care.
you too. Bye.
Bye-bye.